Hello and welcome to Dual Credit World History B, Project 5, which is a document-based question. Okay, so this is taking all of the information that I have given you, and it wants you to write an essay based on the prompt, was Joseph Stalin responsible for the Cold War? Now, the one of the tricky things about this is that you will only use the documents that I provide for this question, okay? So the directions say the following is based on the accompanying documents. The documents have been edited for this exercise. In your response, you should do the following. Respond to the prompt with a historically defensible thesis or claim that establishes a line of reasoning. Describe a broader historical context relevant to the prompt. Support an argument in response to the prompt using at least 6 documents. Use your prior knowledge about the event in order to back up your thesis statement. For at least 3 documents, explain how or why the document's point of view, purpose, historical situation, and/or audience is relevant to the argument, and use evidence to corroborate, qualify, or modify an argument that addresses the prompt. Okay, so now you remember that as soon as World War II ended, the Cold War started. And a lot of that was because of the atomic bomb that was dropped on Japan, okay? But another part of that was definitely because of Joseph Stalin, who was in charge of Russia at the time, okay? He was the he was basically in charge of Russia. He was the president, whatever, of Russia during at the time, okay? And so he was in part responsible for the Cold War. Now, I'm not going to give you a yes or no because I want you to decide, okay? So your guiding question is going to be using specific examples from Eastern and Western Europe. Discuss the economic, political, and social differences that distinguish the ideological battles between the superpowers during the Cold War, 1845 to 1989. Okay? Some topics for discussion. You don't need to discuss all of these. The Potsdam Conference, Eastern Europe, the new communist regimes, Western Europe, post-war politics, the Cold War, decolonization, stimulus from the Soviet Union and the United States, the Soviet bloc, and bipolar stability. Okay? So those are a lot of things that were emphasized during this whole period. Okay? You will be graded on using 4 or more documents to address the prompt, and having a prompt with a historically defensible thesis or claim that establishes a line of reasoning. Okay? And then you are going to show that you have a broader understanding of events that occurred before, during, or after the time frame of the question. And for one document, you're going to go really further in depth and show me the overall relevance of that document. And then you're going to show good grammar and syntax in the paper. Now, be aware that if you cite a bunch of sources that are not the sources that I have given you, I will turn away your paper. Okay? I will say start again and use my sources. Okay, so don't add a "we're excited," all right? Just throughout your paper, tell me what sources you are using. Okay, so number one, source one is Joseph Stalin, formation of the Communist Information Bureau. And it says, despite his instrumental role in defeating fascism, the head of the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin, deeply mistrusted his Western allies, convinced that their ultimate goal was to destroy communism. Stalin moved rapidly to establish a buffer zone of satellite states in Eastern Europe. Okay, so that can be used for or against, you decide. Is Joseph Stalin the one who is to blame for the Cold War? Okay, so I would say probably right there, this document would say that he is to blame for the Cold War. Okay, so if your thesis says that he is not to blame for the Cold War, then don't use this document. Okay, only use documents that go for what your claim is. Okay, here's a political map of Europe from 1949 to 1989. Here's Russia. Here's the Eastern Bloc, and then here's kind of the buffer zone right here. All right, so there you go. Okay, so that kind of goes along with source one. Okay, those are two sources that you could use to say that he is to blame. All right, source three, Harry Truman, National Security Council, paper number 68 in 1950. Although he had helped to end World War II, U.S. President Harry Truman had little time to celebrate. Daunting challenges still lay ahead of him as the fragile wartime alliance between the United States and the Soviet Union collapsed. Classified report, excerpted here, elucidates not only the basis of U.S. Cold War tactics, but also the fears and perceptions underlying them. Okay, so this talks about Harry Truman and about how, about how he also had some Cold War tactics as well. Okay, so this might be a document that you could use to say that it wasn't all Joseph Stalin, that it might have been Harry Truman who started the Cold War. Okay? So, there you go. Number four, source four. Novelist William Faulkner speaks about the bomb during his Nobel Prize acceptance speech, 1945. Okay? So, he says that it was because of the bomb. He probably says that it was because of the bomb that the Cold War started. Okay, so there you go. That's another source. Okay, source five. Winston Churchill notes the signs of the Cold War. All right. So go ahead and read through this. Tell me what he says. Does he think that the Cold War is because of what was going on? Okay. All right. And then we've got a picture of the Berlin airlift where Soviet forces blockaded railroad and water access to Allied-controlled areas of Berlin. Okay, so there's a picture of that right there. Okay, so you could use that to say that this is a Soviet. This was started by Joseph Stalin because he was the one who was in charge of the Soviets at this time. Okay. Number 7 is Soviet official Andrei Zandov I don't even know how to say that, interprets the United States aid as imperialism. Okay? And so it says that maybe it was our fault. Martin J. Sherwin says the atomic bomb and the origins of the Cold War. So, once again, maybe it was our fault. Okay? So, so you've got some interesting documents here. There's documents that say that it was probably Joseph Stalin's fault. There's some documents that say that it wasn't Joseph Stalin's fault. Okay? I would read through the documents and decide which one that I believed the most and go with those, okay? Don't use documents that don't correspond with what your thesis is, okay? Make sure that you have a very clear thesis that says whether it was Joseph Stalin and that was responsible for the Cold War, and then don't use stuff that goes against it, okay? Or if you do use it and say, but I think that this is false because, okay? So there you go. That's some ideas. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I will talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.